Celebrating 10 years of award-winning car talk, it's the In Wheel Time Car Show. Coming up, we talk to noted automotive journalist and host of the On Road podcast from the left coast, Mr. Jack Nerad. Jeff's going to review our pre-owned car of the week, the 2017 Buick Regal. We'll take a look at some of the upcoming racing events you might be interested in, plus Conrad's Car Clinic and the stories making auto news headlines. That and more just ahead on today's In Wheel Time Car Show for Saturday, March 6th, 2021. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world Mars, King Conrad DeLong, Jeffrey Dzidkan back there in the corner where he belongs. I'm Don Armstrong, and thank you very much for joining us today. We truly appreciate you getting up on a Saturday morning. It's beautiful outside.
It is beautiful. I wanted to mention one comment that we had come up from one of our regular listeners who's listening on the show today, and he was talking about the Mach-E.
Yes.
And the 240 whatever, and the 1 month payment. It's still less than the destination charge.
It is less than the destination charge. We had a big conversation about destination charges with the Consumer Reports guy, and we're all getting ripped off. So just wanted to make you feel really good on a Saturday morning. Speaking of feeling good, here he is. From the left coast of the United States of America, our man about town, Mr. Jack Nerad. Jack, it's always a pleasure to see you. I can't believe that you're up at this hour of the morning. It's 8 o'clock out there.
Yeah, 8 a.m. and I'm choking. I'm so choked up to be with you guys. It's exciting.
I'll bet you are.
He's going, what am I wasting my time talking to these guys for?
Not true at all. I really look forward to this. And we do this about once a month, and it's a blast.
Well, thank you, because we enjoy talking to you, too. What's going on out there? Do you still have a governor?
Not for long, apparently.
Have you fallen into the ocean yet, or what's going on?
Well, we're to the point where I have no mask mandate. We're supposed to wear your masks, too. So we're supposed to wear 2 masks.
We'll send you ours, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the latest.
Well, the good news is California's not on fire anymore, and now you're not flooding anymore, so there's lots of good things going on in California.
Yeah, apparently so. Including
we actually had some rain. We had not had rain for 6 weeks or something like that in Southern California. I know rain isn't a problem in Houston.
No, never is.
Texas, but it can be a problem in Southern California.
So I have to ask you before we get started today, what are you driving this week? What is your car of the week?
I've got 2 really cool cars out front, both red. It's red car at Nerad's house this week. I have a Dodge Charger Hellcat Red Eye.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, out front. And then I've got the Mazda 3 with the turbo. So, that can kind of fit in the trunk of the
Charger,
the Hellcat, but of the Charger.
So let me ask you this. Have you lit up the back tires on the Hellcat yet?
I have not done it yet. I mean, I live in a town where would I do that? It would be reported. There would be video of it. There would be hell to pay.
Before the smoke even cleared.
All the snowflakes would melt.
Yeah, exactly. And we got plenty of them. I mean, they're everywhere. They're all carrying cell phones, and they're all want to record everything bad that happens.
Yeah,
when I walk around outside without a mask on, I'm sure I'm on TV.
Oh, gosh.
This thought just crossed my mind. I thought, if they still had the match game with Gene Rayburn, you would have been the perfect candidate to be up there on the dais with your comments and your good looks out there in California. So
I kind of feel like I'm the Charles Nelson Riley of
yes.
Stuff, right?
Well, I didn't want to go there, but that's exactly what I thought.
That's Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, Center Square.
No, that's Match Game. But he appeared on Hollywood Squares. But any of those kind of celebrity kind of game shows, he'd be a great.
It's a California thing.
It is a California thing.
Yeah, I'm the most minor of celebrities, so I would fit right in.
Well, we love having you on. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I thought maybe we'd talk about EVs. I mean, you kind of got it started with Mustang Mach-E, but there's a lot of EV news this week.
Oh my God!
And you can't get away from it. One of the interesting things about EV news is there's so many performance EVs being talked about, and certainly electrified cars. I wrote a piece this week about Mercedes-Benz, Mercedes-AMG, and their new e-performance line, which is taking technology that they use in Formula One and throwing it into some of the hybrid vehicles that AMG is going to do. I have to wonder whether that's kind of a ploy to make those things okay. It's like, okay, it's 1,000 horsepower, but it's a hybrid, so it's kinder and gentler. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's a pretty exciting development that we've seen. And of course, Volvo had this giant press conference. I was lucky enough. My time zone just doesn't work with other people. And so I was up at 5 in the morning, I think on Tuesday morning, to watch a Volvo press conference from Gothenburg, Sweden. And it was kind of crazy.
That's pretty early.
Gotham, Sweden?
Gothenburg, Sweden, yeah.
Gothenburg.
The home of Volvo. And they did a global press conference announcing not only a new car, pretty cool car, I guess, the C40, kind of one of those four-door coupe kind of things, but this all-electric, the C40 Recharge. And then they announced that all of their electric cars going forward would be sold online only. And I could just... I could just hear the Volvo dealers going, "What?"
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. They say that the Volvo dealers are totally on board with this.
Sure.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. That's what you would say, is it? And for one thing, in a lot of there's the potential this is even illegal, because
in different
a
states.
manufacturer distributor cannot set a retail price. So if they're going to do a one price online, that's problematic.
Yeah, because that becomes price fixing, and it's an issue here in Texas because the manufacturer is not allowed direct sales to consumers in the state of Texas from the TADA, which is one of the reasons Tesla has their issues here in the state as well. So it'd be fun to see how they circumvent all of that, much less the dealer who spent $15 million building that single-line Volvo facility to sell their product. That's going to be...
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reason there are franchise laws. I was talking with a colleague about this, and, he's kind of an anti-dealer guy, and I'm on the other side of that fence. And the typical dealer invests a huge amount of money in a brand, and the... brand benefits immensely from that. So to throw that all away, I think, is very pointless. And I think Tesla has really suffered from that. They've had to put together, among a million other things they've had to do, they've had to put together an entire retail and service network. And it's not easy to do, and it takes giant investment.
Well, yeah, particularly whenever you don't want to have that big store presence in that big footprint.
So, Jack,
Right.
The other thing here that while we're talking about electric vehicles, and this has been really something that I've had an issue with, and I think that
Here we go.
I think that a lot of other people that are going to buy EVs are going to realize once they have it, is the infrastructure in the United States of America is not there for everybody to get on board an EV. And I say this I say this because we just got through with an ice storm and a major power outage across the state of Texas. Well, what the hell do you do then?
Well, California being such a big proponent of EVs, heck, you guys were going through brownouts this summer because you didn't have enough electricity. It's kind of, they're fighting themselves on this.
So what are we going to do to charge the car when you got a brownout and you're now stuck between, Sacramento and San Jose?
Yeah, well, you're in real trouble if that's where you're stuck, because it's not a great place to be stuck. But I'll tell you, there's no...
Yeah, it's called
There's
Oakland.
really no solution to that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of issues. We recently had a guy named Bill Lowenthal on the America on the Road podcast talking about, he works for ChargePoint. He is the head of product for ChargePoint. And ChargePoint is a major global charger of electric vehicles. They facilitate electric vehicle charging. They do it in a lot of places. There are a lot of places you can charge vehicles, and it's very, very convenient when you find these places. But the other situation is you have to charge them for a period of time, right? It's not just like gas and go.
Right.
5 minutes at the gas pump and off you go, and you have another 400, 500 miles of range. So there's several issues that still are revolving around electric vehicles. They're not as convenient. They're just not as convenient as gasoline or diesel-powered cars, given our circumstances.
I was at a Home Depot. I took a picture of it. I'll put it up on our Facebook page. I was at a Home Depot in Fresno, California, and here they offer, there's like 6 electric charging stations to park your vehicle, and kind of like a little parking meter out front that you use to plug into your car. And in the 7th parking space was a diesel generator that
right.
that was creating the power for those 6 charging stations. I was like, seriously?
What's the purpose?
Seriously. Well, the purpose is to be
It's to get the people in the store to spend money.
You know, there's this whole clean drive of everything, but as we talked earlier about the shortage of foam for seats, too much stuff comes through the petrochemical industry in the automobile world to shut it all down.
Yeah, but it's one fossil fuel generator for those 6 EV chargers. Is what it breaks down.
Okay. So Jack, you and I both know, well, most people do that are into cars, that every single current manufacturer of vehicles has got a huge, I can't even begin to tell you how huge it is, investment into building, creating, making, and turning out electric vehicles. And there is still no proof in the pudding that we're all going to buy all of these electric vehicles. Not only that, but now you've got manufacturers that have never existed before that are going to be building EVs. So there's even going to be more competition. Matter of fact, I read a story online this morning that Tesla stock is down, and Tesla is beginning to hurt a little bit when it comes to sales, and they've lowered their prices on several of their models. So how is this all going to play out?
Well, it's such a fascinating question, Don, because I don't think anybody knows. A lot of manufacturers, as you mentioned, conventional manufacturers and startups are jumping into the electric vehicle industry. The people who are lagging behind are the consumers. There isn't a groundswell of support. I saw a J.D. Power study very recently about this, and at best, people are lukewarm about EVs.
Correct.
And when you're asked in a survey, would you consider an EV? I think a lot of people will check, yeah, okay. That doesn't mean they're going to buy one.
Yeah,
right?
I'll think about it, yeah.
I'm willing to consider it, right? It seems like a forward-thinking thing to do, to consider it. But if you convert 10% of those people or 5% of those people to EV buyers, I don't think you've got the market to support all the EVs that are coming to market in the next several years. And I think what manufacturers are doing is, covering their rear ends by having EVs, by pointing to the fact that, oh, yes, we can go EV. And I think one of the things they're covering for is if there are governmental regulations that make it almost mandatory to buy an EV. I think that's what would move EVs forward. And, that's, I think, what all of us who are car guys are fearful of.
Well, I think you're right, because, you see people like Volvo say we're not going to build anything but an EV, and GM and other people are making these statements that we're going to phase out conventional combustion engines in vehicles. It's not the consumer driving this. There's some other force. Maybe it's worrying about the political scenario or something that's coming up there, but it's not consumers saying, I demand that you sell me this. We're not asking for it. And that's the weird part about this whole scenario is they're not building products people want to buy. They're going to try and make people buy them because they don't have any other choice, is the way it appears to me.
And then
that just doesn't work in the market, does it?
Not in what we think of as a market.
You know, and a lot of the issues with EVs is, Don and his range anxiety is driven around batteries. So you just saw General Motors this week or last week announced a $100 or $10 billion investment in a battery plant in the old Spring Hill Saturn assembly facility. So it's going to be interesting to see how they build and grow the infrastructure for EV cars and spend billions of dollars doing it when they still don't have the consumer demand. How is that
right? Yeah, I mean, General
crash?
Motors is really doubling down big time on EVs. Of course, we've seen Ford doing what they're doing with Mach-E. We're seeing a lot of EVs, of course, from Volkswagen. Volkswagen has kind of vowed to go all EV, and Volvo is going to be all EV, according to them, in 9 years. 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's 2 cycles of a vehicle, right? I mean,
Yeah, and I'm planning on still be driving in 9 years, so
and I'm planning on still driving my gasoline-powered cars
exactly
in 9 years from now.
And then you have the leader in the EV industry, Elon Musk, with Tesla, is saying the infrastructure to charge is not there. And they're not doing anything to grow that infrastructure. Charging stations are there, but the delivery of the necessary electricity isn't. So that's going to have to come as well.
Yeah, and it's at-home charging is a big issue because people who buy EVs tend to cluster together, right? I mean, like people buy
like-minded things.
Yeah. We see this everywhere. And what that does is it puts a giant pressure on the electrical grid in those cities. And a lot of times the electrical grid was built 100 years ago.
Sure.
150 years ago. And it hasn't been upgraded much because it hasn't needed to be over the course of that time. So suddenly you have much greater demand for electricity just to charge cars overnight, and it doesn't exist.
Well, the other thing is, in that vein, is the fact that, for instance, you and I and Mr. Mars over here, we get press vehicles. I had a Kia Niro a few months ago. Okay, so in the back, in the trunk area, they had thrown in a 110-volt charger that I could plug in here at the house.
For 16
Do you
hours.
know how long it takes to charge a battery on a 110-volt? It takes forever. It would take like 4 days for it to fully charge. So how are they going to handle the press? They're going to come to my house and install some 220-volt charger out there? I don't think so.
I think they're actually talking about doing that. I've heard that floated out there because we're in that situation where if we're going to be testing, I test a new vehicle each week. If we're going to be testing a lot of electric vehicles and we're going to drive them for more than 100, 150 miles over the course of that week, we're going to have some kind of situation.
Well, we are because, like you said, I got one that I just got out of that I had it for a week. It showed up. It wasn't charged because of the mileage to get down here to me. So I put it on to charge. Well, 9 hours later, I was at 75%. I could go 15 miles on the electrical. It was a hybrid, so, it wasn't that big a deal, but it was that kind of time frame to go 15 miles.
Well, I think that what they'll actually have to do is give us a card to go to an EV, like an EV Go station.
With a 220 or 440.
With a 220 or 440 charge up there, so I can go and spend 30 minutes at the Whole Foods lot that I never go to, so get the car charged in a decent amount of time. But decent is, I guess, a relative thing.
Well,
I live pretty close to a supercharger, Tesla supercharger station set up because I live near the fabled 405 freeway here in Southern California. And all I see are people sitting in the parking lot on their phones or, fooling with a laptop or something like that. I don't want to spend my life spending 40 minutes, an hour and a half sitting in a parking lot waiting for my car to charge. It's not appealing to me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that I'll just go ahead and take those Hellcat chargers that get about 10 miles to the gallon any day. Thank you very much.
Well, and our social media, the conversation on our social media right now is, think about back in the 1900s when gasoline cars were all the rage and everybody was still in horse and buggies. Now we're talking about the combustion engine going away and EVs being the new rage, and we're still living in the horse and buggy. So, there's kind of two sides to see this, but I'd still rather pour gas in my car.
And you were stating that in 9 years it's going to be all electric,
right.
For the vehicles. I don't think I'm going to have a license in 9 years. I think they'll probably pull mine.
Yeah.
Won't let me drive.
We're ready to pull it now, actually.
Yeah.
Your license, anyway.
If they would just answer the emails, we'd take care of that.
Yeah.
But you've got a huge electric population out there in California, and you probably see way more of it than we do here in Texas. There's some
Absolutely.
in Texas.
I mean, most of the electric vehicles sold in the United States are sold in California. I mean, the majority are sold in California. So we have them all over the place. I mean, they're all over the area in which I live, that's for certain. And there's certainly pluses to electric vehicles. They're smooth, they're quiet. They sneak up on me when I'm walking the dog. And I don't hear them coming up behind me. There's a lot to say for them. There's good performance too, but people buy cars for that occasional thing they do. They don't just buy them for what they do every day or every week, right? And so if you want to go 600 or 700 miles, it's a major hassle in an electric vehicle, and it's not a hassle at all in a gasoline-powered vehicle. You're
absolutely right. My wife drives a Sorrento, and we had one come through the press fleet, and it was a hybrid. And I was telling her, they make an electric vehicle, and no more than you drive, it would work perfect, except for whenever you want to go down to the beach, which is 100 miles away. And she said,
go to Oklahoma.
If I can't do that at least twice a year, I don't want that car. Because you're right. That very thing is what dictated what she wanted in the capabilities of that car. That and cup holders.
And cup holders.
Yeah, and a place to put your purse. Jack, we love talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you. Please hold down the fort out there in California and don't send us any bad weather.
It's a tough battle out here sometimes.
We know. Well, next time you're in Houston, you got to be sure and stop by, okay?
I'd love that.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Take care.
Jack Nerad. He is the heralded automotive author and host of America on the Road podcast. Look him up. Great guy, and really knows his stuff about cars. We've had a long relationship with him over the years, and it's always a pleasure to talk to him.
He is our Paul Lynn.
Paul Lynn. I would think more of Charles Nelson, Ryan.
Charles Nelson. Oh, gosh.
All right, time now for the racing calendar, and I know that we're cranking it up. I saw a truck race last night on TV.
It's getting started, and we're actually into race 4 of the NASCAR season, and tomorrow they're going to be at Las Vegas. But the World Door Slammers Nationals started Thursday.
Drag racing
with qualifying on Thursday. Erica Enders is there along with a whole big collection of Pro Stock NHRA guys. Four-time World Championship Pro Stock driver. And she went 6:53, which is lightning fast for right off the truck, first pass of the year.
211 miles an hour.
Yeah. So, when you're talking about, the records like 6:48 or something like that. So she's super fast. And then, so next weekend is Phoenix. For NASCAR, the weekend after that is Atlanta. Actually, NASCAR Tuesday, this past Tuesday, was at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. Testing, which I thought was pretty cool. Gator Nationals, the first drag race of the year, is next weekend in Florida. And then Formula One racing doesn't start until the 28th of March.
Well, I got a couple of additions onto that. Houston Motorsports Park is going to have its first local race of the season, including Pro Truck, Pro Mod, Outlaw, Pro Stock, Super Stock, Legacy, Eco Stocks, and NASCAR. It's April 3rd. Mark your calendar. It's a Saturday night, and I'm sure that racing will get underway 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. We'll give you more than that as it gets closer. Also, tickets went on sale this week for the Mopar Express Lane NHRA Spring Nationals presented by Pennzoil, and that's going to be the weekend of May 21st. We will be broadcasting from there on May the 22nd, so plan on that. Time now for this hour's car review. The pre-owned car of the week. Mr. Dzidkan has a look at the 2017 Buick Regal. Buick Regal.
Actually, that's not very far off on the original pronunciation. It's actually B-U-I-K. So we'll get into that. It's a 2017 Buick Regal. You have the trim levels of GS, Premium, Sport Touring, and Touring GS, and, of course, just a four-door sedan, which we will be reviewing. And there's a picture of it right there in its glorious red. It is a 5-passenger vehicle. Exterior features, you've got some simple stuff, and they're all pretty much across the line of the manufacturers, where you got the turn signal mirrors, you got the 18-inch wheels, painted alloy slotted rims, you've got the Euro body styling, fog lamps, gated grille, and so on. So in this particular one, it has a sunroof in it. It's a good-looking vehicle. You know, growing up, it was always the old man vehicle that you would hear about, and it was always be the sandy brown color and beige interior. Love it.
Of course you do.
Because I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Interior highlights would be the full complement of airbags, obviously through the entire cabin. We talked about turn signal mirrors, USB connections, 7-speaker IntelliLink radio nav, which is very cool. And there we go with just a standard General Motors or across the manufacturer board pod on this, heated mirrors and so on. Moving on to the engine side of it. It's a 2-liter turbo. It's an inline 4-cylinder, 16-valve dual overhead cam. You've got the 259 horsepower at 5,300 RPM. The torque is 295 foot-pounds of torque at 3,000.
Pretty peppy.
Yeah, it's a 6-speed, short throw transmission. I don't really have a whole lot to know. It's called a short variable is what it's called. 6-speed.
Yeah, it's an automatic.
Yeah, it's an automatic. Miles per gallon in the city is 21. Highway is 29.
Oh, God, here we go with the...
Combined, hold that shot, Mike. Combined is 24. Premium gas is recommended for it. Stability control.
Nobody does that.
I know, recommended. Yeah, exactly. The vehicle ranges from 18,496 to 24,790.
Used?
Pre-owned, depending on miles.
Wow.
Depending on miles. But the new ones, back when you would buy it new back in 2017, the new ones started at 25.
I was going to say
for the base model. And
Seriously,
these are base.
I didn't know that they were that cheap.
They hold pretty good value. They hold pretty good value on that, yeah.
It's a Buick thing.
Yeah, it's a 4-year, 50,000-mile warranty, 10 exterior colors, 3 interior colors, and what you're seeing there are the logos.
Yeah.
With all
Logos.
the
There's no handshakes on that
no
one.
handshakes on that, but the first one, it's kind of weird. It's supposed to be a gentleman with a cane dragging something, and they didn't really explain what he was dragging. But this is the history by the dates of the logos, and the first came in 1903, 1905. Then Buick around the 1930s decided they were going to use the coat of arms for the family, which is the Buick family, and it's actually spelled B-U-I-K instead of B-U-I-C-K. So there was a family change there.
I see.
Yeah.
Where's the R? There's supposed to be an R in there somewhere. Buick.
That's, yeah.
B-U-R-I-C-K. Buick.
But anyways, it was designed in a terracotta color, white, blue, the checker stripe, upper and lower right corners, and then you had the family crest that you see in 4 of the shots there, and then moving on up to the present where it actually combines heritage and modern elegance into the
See, the
Buick
first one that I remember, my grandfather had, I don't know, probably a 49 Buick, that big red one down there.
Right.
Yeah, and I remember that. I do not remember, what is that, a bird, a rabbit? What is that?
It's actually supposed to be an eagle.
An eagle, yeah. 75, 76, that was the logo they also put on the Indy pace car.
Yeah,
Right.
what was up with that?
Of course, the one above it with 1942 to 1947, there's actually a moose. That's a moose.
Moose.
In that, yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, it is not.
It is. There's a moose in there.
Get out of here.
It's supposed to be a moose.
Let me hear the moose.
Moose?
Let me hear it. Let me hear what it sounds like.
Multiples. He's bugling.
No, it's Buick. Buick.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
And we're going to handshake on that. And
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jeffrey. We really appreciate that. Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available throughout the week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcast, TuneIn, Google Podcast, Pandora, Amazon, and Podcast Addict. In Wheel Time Car Show continues right after this quick break.
Tailpipes and Tacos is Houston's premier cruise-in, and you're invited to join in. Whether you're a cruiser or spectator, Tailpipes and Tacos is the place to enjoy made-to-order breakfast tacos, fresh coffee, and mingle with Houston's fun car people. Mark your calendar for Saturday, March 20th for Tailpipes and Tacos at the Lupi Tortilla Mexican Restaurant in Katy, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Tailpipes and Tacos is free, and everyone is invited. You'll see collector cars, hot rods, customs, magnificent originals, and resto mods, all at one location. Cars from all over Southeast Texas cruise in and show off at a friends and family event at the Lupi Tortilla Mexican Restaurant on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 in Katy. Drag racer, car enthusiast, and Lupi founder Stan Holt brings you Houston's hottest cruise in, Tailpipes and Tacos, Saturday, March 20th, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Lupi's in Katy. The In Wheel Time Car Show will be there there too. Get your ride ready and we'll see you at the Tailpipes and Tacos Saturday morning cruise-in, March 20th, 8 to 11 a.m. at Loopy's in Katy, weather permitting. Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Dzidkan. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com. If you're in charge of your company's small, medium, or large business anywhere in the U.S., let the On Hold Company help you retain customers and promote your business on your telephone system. Promote special sales or company info when placed on hold. The On Hold Company provides custom on-hold messages with professional male or female voices, licensed background music with no long-term contract, no monthly recurring bill, and updates your messages as needed. Call the On Hold Company at 713-223-HOLD or go to onhold.net.